Okay, so today we're going to be talking about what I'm surrounded by. Today is apples. Hello everyone, this is Dwayne with Edge of Nowhere Farm, and we're coming to you here today in June. It is hot. I guess that's kind of needless to say, but it's a really warm evening here in June. And you know, June for us means lots of different varieties of fruits. One of the ones that we love most and are really most impressed with is our apples. So we really kind of start our apple harvest today. What you see me literally surrounded by are dozens of our Golden Dorsett apples. So our Golden Dorsett apples, I guess we'll talk a little bit about the variety. Golden Dorsett apples are very similar to a golden apple or a Golden Delicious apple, so very similar to those as far as flavor, but I would say they're really more tart than sweet, whereas the Golden Delicious is more sweet than tart. But with the Golden Dorsett is a self-fruiting variety, so it does not need a pollinator in order to produce an abundant harvest, and that's exactly what we have is an abundant harvest. They do better if they're actually cross-pollinated with an Anna, which we do have just behind it. So we do get some cross-pollination there, which helps with the amount of harvest that we have, which is what I'm surrounded by here. But it's a very good tasting variety if you like that sweet tart taste. I'm not going to say it's quite as tart as a Granny Smith, although if you pick it early it can be, but it does have a tendency to get kind of mealy, a lot like a Golden Delicious will as well when it's overripe. So really what it narrows down to with our Golden Delicious apples is they're really not ripe for another couple weeks. We're here in the beginning of June. These are really probably about 2 weeks shy of being fully ripe. However, we don't net this tree, so we're going to actually harvest our apples today. What we really look for is we look for bird damage. Once we start getting bird damage on these apples, we go ahead and pull them and we let them finish ripening on the counter. That's what we noticed today when we came out to look at these apples. So I did thin this, obviously pruned it pretty heavily in the wintertime and then thinned it. So will link our pruning video for apples. So I show you how we prune our apple trees. This tree is no different. So it got a good winter pruning. We make sure that we establish and keep all of our fruiting spurs, which is what I'm surrounded by now, is fruit on our fruiting spurs. So we make sure we maintain our fruiting spurs, and then that when we get that pruning done in the wintertime, it helps to encourage fruit production, which is really what we have in abundance. Now, one thing we did have with this tree, just like we did with all of our spring varieties of stone fruit, this is a pome fruit, but it has a tendency to flower at about the same time. Very early flower and fruit set, and we did get some damage from that frost that we had in February. So it did affect our harvest just a little bit, but I think by the time we're done, you're going to see we're still going to harvest a lot of apples. More specifically about the tree. So the tree that I'm under here, this tree is about 2.5 years old. We had originally put a Golden Dorsett in this spot that we got from Home Depot, but it didn't survive. Actually got some damage by some ants, believe it or not. We've got some red leafcutter ants here that I literally watched go up the tree, chew leaves off, drop them to their fellow ant partners on the ground, and proceed to take those leaves down under the ground. So Lori and I have been in a constant battle with these particular ants. We like vinegar and very hot water because we want to use natural means. But nonetheless, it took out our first tree, so we replaced it with a tree that we actually got from Reed at RSI Growers. I've talked about him before. I'll tell you what, I will not buy apple trees anywhere else from now on. This tree is actually about 1.5 years younger than our Anna apple tree, and it is much more productive, more aggressive. It's just an amazing tree, and the Anna is good. It's a good tree. We'll show you that in another upcoming video, but it doesn't produce nearly as well. It doesn't grow nearly as well. Very impressed. He uses a local rootstock that he grows himself, which makes a big difference. So back to harvest. So what I want to do is I want to actually pick one of these for you. You know, I'll tell you, I don't know if Lori can pan over here just a little bit, but I need to get this thing harvested. I still thinned this tree. We actually thinned about 40% of the apples off of this tree, and this branch luckily is nice and sturdy. It's about the only reason that it's still standing. Just a tremendous harvest. But what I wanted to do is I actually wanted to pick one of these. In fact, I'm going to pick this one here. So you get an idea of size. So a palm of my hand, about the size of a baseball, I'm going to say. It looks like it's actually starting to yellow up pretty good. We've picked these a little bit earlier before. We really enjoy juicing these apples with that tart sweet. We do juice every morning, and we include a green apple in that juice every morning. But so we will use these for that while they're still ripening up on the counter. But wanted to cut a little piece of this off. and share it with you guys. Man, I'll tell you what, if you've never had a freshly picked orchard apple before, you are really missing out. You know, Lori and I were huge fans of Honeycrisp apples. I love Honeycrisp apples. We have a Honeycrisp apple tree only because the outside chance that maybe it'll give us apples, and it probably won't. But I'll tell you what, it has just a really good balance of tart and sweet. Super, super juicy. You know, it's over 100 degrees out here, but it doesn't matter. Nice, crisp texture. Lori, you wait until you try this. It is amazing. I'm gonna go ahead and finish that. But really what it narrows down to with these guys right now, they're just a little underripe, not completely ripe. They'll continue to ripen up on our counter, but not mealy at all, which is what happens to these fruit when they get completely ripe on the tree. Very, very sweet, but they get a little mealy. So what Lori and I are going to do now is we're going to take a quick break. She and I are going to go through and harvest this tree. We're actually going to take all the fruit off the tree to make sure we don't sustain any more bird damage. So we'll show you our harvest here coming up. Okay, so we're done. So Lori and I spent about the last 10 minutes or so doing our harvest off of this tree. Now you kind of get an idea of the size of this tree. I trim it down quite a bit, but it's already gone back up to probably about 8 feet or so. Goodness, I have a tendency to exaggerate, but I'm gonna say he's probably a good 10 feet across, tip to tip. So just a nice big bushy tree. I think we got the vast majority of the fruit, but what I wanna do is have Lori pan down real quick so you can actually see the harvest we got off of this 2.5-year-old tree. So, and again, I do exaggerate from time to time, but we got 3 5-gallon buckets. So you guys remind me if I start saying 4 future videos, but we got 3 5-gallon bucketfuls, and we got a kind of a pig bucket is what I'm going to call it. These are ones that have blemishes, bird damage, things like that we're just not going to even try to juice. Those are going to our piggies because, of course, piggies love apples. I want to show you kind of the difference in size to the harvest. So we get apples anywhere from this size, which I'm going to say is, I don't know, the size of, what is that? Maybe I guess probably a billiard ball, so something like that if you're shooting pool. And then again to the larger ones, like, you know, that's a good size of a baseball. So they do vary quite a bit, and do vary a little bit as far as ripeness. So we have some that are very, very green, and some that are getting nice and yellow. And of course these will ripen on the countertop. But ultimately, this is our harvest for today. So did want to give you an idea too of the tree, just a beautiful, beautiful tree. This will continue to grow heartily now that we've actually pulled all the fruit. You can imagine the tree's been putting all of its energy into all this fruit production up until now, and it's just hitting its stride as far as growth is concerned. So this is just going to be a massive, massive tree by the time I get back to have to prune this thing in the wintertime. And of course, we just got a smoker, so you know, all this apple wood chipped, I'm looking forward to that. So just want to thank you for joining us today. And hey, you know what, if you haven't done so already, hey, subscribe to our channel. You know, we'd love to have you as a subscriber, especially if you like things like this. You know, we're really going into hitting our stride when it comes to fruit production here on the farm. Love to have you join us for that. And hey, you know what, hit the like button. You know, share it with your friends. If you got anybody who might be interested in something like this, you know, particularly if they're here in the Arizona area, thinking about, you know, what they might be able to do as far as fruit production, man, you can see in just a couple years what you can get from an apple tree, a good Golden Dorsett apple. But like and share our videos, and hey, you know, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section below. You know, obviously when it comes to apples, we've had this type of apple tree since our old house. So we've been doing this apple for over 6 years. So real comfortable with this apple and the way it produces. And you know, if you've got any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Love to interact with you guys. So just want to thank you again for joining us today and remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere, and if we can grow apples like this on the edge of nowhere, so can you. So today we're going to be talking about these beautiful golden yellow orbs above my head. That's weird. That's weird. Okay, Yoko Ono. Man, this happens every time I try to do this in the evening. So just want to thank you for joining us today. And you know what? If you like the video, hey, you know, really what I'm gonna say something next time. Bye.